Hey yo everyone, my name is Jessica, and in this video I want to share miniatures I painted before I decided to start YouTube. So I wanted to share my works with you guys from when I started the hobby. Now, I originally was afraid to post these because I thought they were inadequate. Like, in a world filled with expert painters, especially on YouTube, posting their works and processes, what chance does my work have compared to them? So recently, I decided that there is more value to me in documenting, remembering, and learning rather than the fear of what other people might say over the internet. That it's time to overcome that fear. So here we are at the beginning, the miniatures that started it all. These are my Dark Angels, and I had used bits from the easy to build Marines and some intercessors from the Combat Patrol combined with Grey Tide Studios' Eternal Pilgrim 3D Brits to sort of combine them into a more regal Marine. I gotta say, they turned out pretty okay. I remember struggling with these when I was painting them, since I was still getting used to the feel of the brush and trying to build up my dexterity to actually be able to paint such fine details. And yeah, I gotta say, they aren't as bad as I remember, but definitely like I can see the difference between my current and this paint job. Looking at them now, I'm pretty proud of past me for getting this painted. The next ones are from when I really got into Warcry. Well, at least the idea of playing Warcry. Since I never really got around to it, I really didn't know where to pick up a starter set to start my own game. I've got one now, but so maybe in the future I can start up a Warcry game with some friends. But these are the Unmade. I got these on sale because a local hobby chain was liquidating their Warhammer stock at the moment. And the moment I saw these, I hopped on the chance to get them. I think they're discontinued as far as I know, but I really like the aesthetic they have. These guys really challenged me to paint flesh since I was very comfortable with painting Marines. But faces, heads, like I was really afraid, but these guys were like mostly flesh and they're literally wearing flesh. This got me to tackle that fear. I had a very poor understanding of color, and watching tutorials on painting flesh didn't really make sense to me. However, I do like how they turned out in the end. I tried printing out some base toppers. I can't for the life of me remember from where they're from though. They do bring the miniatures all together, so these guys look a lot more complete than the Dark Angels. The skin turned out pretty good for my first attempt. It's definitely like opened up a lot of opportunities for me to like grow because of I faced this fear of trying to paint skin. Following my Warcry binge, I fell in love with these Gorger Mawpack Ogres. I really like the idea of these ogres being these gluttons, and the Gorger Maws are cursed with this thing called the Empty Belly Curse that that gives them this insatiable hunger. So I wanted to sort of give them that head swap and try to give them more of a mythological creature look, something that is also related to hunger. So I had printed out these deer skulls and jaws, and I had to do this a couple of times to sort of get the right fit on the models. This turned out pretty great, and I had a lot of fun painting these. I gave them more of the printed base topper treatment, and now I think I could have done better on the bone, and I feel like I can just push the skin color a little further to look a little less monotonous. I might actually end up repainting these guys in the near future, but all in all, I still rank these pretty highly among my favorite miniatures just for the head swap alone. I really like that head swap idea, and I'm so glad I pushed through with it. Moving on, I picked up a Dominion box for Age of Sigmar. Sometime back, I wanted to try out the game, especially that it was the time when game stores were trying their best to get rid of it, since they were trying to make way for Skaventide. Bonus points that it was extremely cheap for $90 for almost 2 spearheads, a core rulebook, and a game mat. My partner is a big green skin enjoyer, and I really like playing human male warriors in MMOs, so the Cruel Boys and the Stormcasts were perfect for this box. I'm happy that I picked it up. So first, I painted the Cruel Boys. I had primed it, but I wanted to try out this new method where I would use complementary colors for the Zenithal, and I really tried to make this work, but I failed spectacularly because I had originally thought that green was complemented by purple. So I used a dark, deep purple for the Zenithal and sort of the green skin green to as the attempted complementary color. But in the end, I should have used the red violet to match the shade of green. But I learned from this mistake. Looking back, they look pretty okay. Definitely not my best work. I got a lot of value from the lessons I learned from these guys. So I'm hoping one day I actually finish painting the entire spearhead for a game. Next is a Stormcast from the Dominion box. I didn't get through a lot of these. I just got to the most basic troop. I wanted to paint these guys similar to the Skaven Tide promo video with the silver armor and blue accents. This got me to try weathering, and I also attempted not to use gold metallic on the shields, and I'm not sure why I did that. I don't think it turned out okay. I tried to do a non-metallic metal. They definitely do need a repaint, but for the rest, I think I can keep it this way. I'm not too comfortable with painting miniatures with mostly metallic paints, but these are definitely a good start. And honestly, I don't think they look half bad. But just like the Cruel Boys, I kind of ran out of like inspiration to keep going with these guys. Moving on to 40k, it was my first love and it was my foyer into the miniature wargaming space. I remember a batchmate of mine bringing a Grey Knights Codex, and I just asked him like, what are those? And we talked for hours about the lore of the Grey Knights, the Space Marines, and the Imperium of Man, and I was absolutely hooked. So these were my first army. These are my 1,000 Suns, and I wanted to keep it at an iconic cyan, but I also wanted to give them a little bit of my own twist. So I tried a dark gray and purple accent colors. I did the same sort of technique I did with the Cruel Boys, where the purple as a shadow color and the cyan as the main 1,000 Suns color. This time, I think it worked out better than my previous attempt. I am super excited to get back to these. I actually have a full army waiting to be painted up. It does take quite a bit of time for me to paint the trim. I think every 1,000 Suns player has this problem. So I'm not quite sure when I'm going to get back to these and finishing them up. So I watched Hellstorm Wargaming's video on using the Mark 6 torsos and bodies with the extra arms for the Emperor's Children Infractor kits. And honestly, I think it was a brilliant idea. So I had picked up the Emperor's Children army box. I just got to work on them. For the color scheme, I tried a pink with a metallic light blue on the leg to break the monotony of the black and pink colors. And I think it's not quite there yet. I don't think this is the best scheme. But for these guys, I don't think I have the strength to finish these, since 40k is constantly changing and I definitely can paint them in my spare time, but I'm not too big of a fan of the ever-changing rules and adjusting armies, and it's really not for me. If ever I'll be looking into another game system I can use these guys in, most likely one-page rules. This was my best work when it comes to a Grimdark style. Painting these, they've got a lot of blood, grime, rust, and weathering, and it's all so gloomy, and I really love the Mike Francina art for the Trench Pilgrims, and I think they turned out pretty well. I was trying to keep them as close as possible to the original artwork. I was so inspired by the art itself that I was painting like a madman. As soon as I printed these out, I just got to work, and I gotta say, I absolutely love these guys. Even looking at them from my shelf gives me so much fuel to keep painting other things. So I never thought that these would actually be made. These ones are a little new. I knew I had to get these since I'm a big Zaku fan and I really like the design. So I am glad Bandai made some miniatures. So I've painted these with the olive drab, a deep red for the red comet Zaku. Now I had used an oil wash for this, and this is the very first time I'm ever going to use an oil wash, and it was very scary because I had no idea what the ratios were when mixing. So I mixed a raw umber yellow ochre to get this color, and I think it turned out pretty well. I also gave these guys a simple texture paste on the base to make them feel a little bit more complete. And I gotta say, how these guys turned out, I'm a little bit more confident using oil washes, and I look forward to using them in future projects. Now for this caught me by surprise. I originally was not interested in A Song of Ice and Fire. I've never watched the Game of Thrones show. I'm not really a fan of Cool Mini or Not. They have a reputation for killing games, and licensed games in my eyes don't really last a long time, but I seem to be wrong because even Star Wars Legion is getting a resurgence. And as for this game, I was definitely wrong as well, since it's been around for quite a bit. They've made a good effort to make it accessible to pick up and play. I made a video on that previously, so I gave it a shot, and I gotta say the Flayed Men is a pretty nice sculpt, and I enjoyed painting them. And even though the models aren't the best in terms of detail in comparison to most manufacturers out there, I think they're quality enough in my book that I had fun painting them. I picked up a few armies for the game since they're pretty much pick up and play. You don't need to build them. They come pre-assembled, pre-colored. But I really like the painting process for these, and I look forward to painting more in the future. Lastly, my most recent work are my 4090 Doom company. Now, even though the game only requires 3 models each team, I wanted to proxy an entire Doom company with all the available classes at the time, and I wanted to have a coherent theme. Personally, I really like hyper-religious factions, so cultists were perfect. These are from Vae Victis. It's a mix of their different parts. I'm using different arms from the different multi-part kits to mix and match to create specific classes. For the color, I was listening to some lore about the King in Yellow by H.P. Lovecraft, and it really inspired me to paint these guys that sickly pale yellow. I gotta say, looking back at my previous work and looking at these guys, they turned out to be the culmination of my knowledge as a miniature painter, and I consider them a milestone of what I've learned throughout the hobby journey, and I'm looking forward to do more. And I gotta say, all in all, I feel a little bit of pride of how far I've gone through my journey as a miniature painter, and I hope I can continue to document what I've been doing and painting in the future for this YouTube channel. I hope you guys can share your works with me as well. I'd love to see how far you guys have gotten, but that's it for now. My name is Jessica, and I talk about miniatures every day.